Hey you guys, have you ever noticed how photographers are constantly being told to invest in something new? A new CRM, a new marketing platform, a new system that promises to change your business. I call this shiny object syndrome. And the problem is, the thing that worked for one photographer can easily become an expensive distraction for another. Because tools don't fix a business. They amplify one. In this video, I want to talk about how to know when something is actually worth investing in for your photography business and how to recognize the signs that a tool might truly move your business forward. Over the past 12 years of running my photography business, there are 3 investments that completely changed the trajectory of my business. They've saved me time, helped me show up more professionally for my clients, and significantly increased my income. But here's the interesting part. Every single one of those investments scared me before I made the leap. They cost more than I was comfortable spending, they required time to learn, and they all came with a learning curve. Yet, each one ended up becoming a turning point in my business. If you're new here, my name is Lindsay. I'm a family photographer and educator, and I've been running my photography business for over 12 years. Over the years, I've photographed hundreds of families and built my business around systems, organization, and intent-based marketing, attracting clients through Google search rather than relying on social media. I drop new videos every week about growing and simplifying your photography business. So if that sounds helpful to you, consider subscribing. Along the way, I've learned something really important. The tools you choose to invest in can either create momentum in your business or they can become expensive distractions. The best investments I've made didn't come from chasing trends. They came from something I like to call a golden thread. A golden thread is an idea that keeps tugging at you. You hear about it once, then you hear about it again, then you see someone using it successfully, and you start to think, maybe this could actually solve a real problem in my business. But at the same time, you resist it because it feels risky, it costs money, and learning something new can feel uncomfortable. For me, those golden threads showed up 3 different times in my business. The first was Google Ads. When I moved and had to essentially rebuild my photography business, from scratch, the thought of starting over felt overwhelming. I knew I needed something action-oriented, something that could help me actively attract new clients instead of just waiting and hoping people would find me. But committing to Google Ads meant spending about $300 a month, and at that time, it felt terrifying. I thought about it for months before finally deciding to take the leap. And once I did, it completely changed the trajectory of my business. But something interesting happened after that. As my inquiries and bookings started increasing, I realized something I hadn't fully noticed before. I wasn't really as organized as I thought I was. Simple things like replying to clients started to feel overwhelming because I was constantly copying and pasting emails, searching through conversations, and trying to keep track of everything manually. That's when another golden thread showed up. HoneyBook. Learning a new system felt uncomfortable at first. It really probably took me about a month of getting my workflow set up and figuring out how everything worked. But once everything was in place, something surprising happened. Communicating with clients suddenly felt calm and professional instead of chaotic. And finally, there was email marketing. Email marketing was actually the very first thing I invested in years ago. I started with Constant Contact and later switched to Flowdesk when it was all the hype and everybody was talking about it. But last year, I started noticing something strange. My email open rates were incredibly low. After digging into it, I realized that many of my emails were actually landing in spam folders. So I started researching deliverability, email platforms, and what actually affects whether people receive your emails. That research eventually led me to switch to Kit, and almost immediately my open rate doubled. Again, it completely changed how I communicate with both my photography clients and the photographers I teach. Now here's what's interesting about all three of these investments. They are the tools that have made me the most money in my business, by far. And they are also the tools that cost me the most every year. They required real financial investment. They required time to learn, and they required my business to be ready for them. Which brings me to something really important. Before investing in any tool or system for your photography business, there are a few questions worth asking yourself. First, is this solving a real problem or bottleneck in my business? The tools that helped me the most were solving real problems like lead generation, organization, and communication. Second, do I have the foundation for this tool to actually work? This is a difficult question to be honest with yourself about, so take some time with this. For example, running Google Ads works best when you already have a strong website that converts visitors into inquiries. Third question, can my pricing support this investment? This is also a question that requires some real honesty with yourself. The tools that made the biggest difference in my business are also reoccurring expenses, and they only work if my business model supports them. And finally, am I willing to learn how to use these new tools well? None of these tools were magic buttons for me. They required setup, experimentation, and patience. But once they were in place, they created systems that allowed my business to grow. In the next 3 videos, I'm going to break down each of these investments in detail. I'll show you exactly why Google Ads became one of the most powerful tools in my marketing strategy, how HoneyBook transformed the way I manage clients, and why switching email platforms doubled my open rates. And I'll also share the actual percentage numbers, including how much my income increased after implementing each one. If you're trying to decide what tools are actually worth investing in for your photography business, those next videos will give you a much clearer picture of what that looks like inside a real working photography business. I hope to see you there.